Hi, this is Monica Spirit Walker from Earth and Spirit Walk, and I just wanted to welcome you to my broadcast on the body connection to self-love. This is an hour broadcast, and this broadcast, this talk we're going to do is part of or comes from an aspect of my 14-day self-love challenge, and that's going to be happening in August, just before we do the Emerging Woman 8-week intensive in September. Now, the body's connection to self-love, to loving who you are, has a lot of varied ideas and concepts, and I'm going to be referring to my notes so you know, okay? A lot of times when we think about self-love, is as far as it's related to our body, we think about accepting our bodies as it is, whether you're 150 pounds or 300 pounds, whether you're big-breasted or small. And for me, from my experience, from what I've been through, I've come to understand that loving your body is so much deeper than just the surface aspect of accepting who you are on the physical level. When we think about self-love and our physical bodies, we think about there being a love-hate relationship. You love your body, but you hate it at the same time. Some days you love it, some days you don't. Some days everything about you is great, and other days you're upset because your arms are too long or they're too short. That also rolls into the aspect of when we look at ourselves in the mirror as men and women, we get older. Sometimes you get that extra weight from having kids, and you start looking at the body roll concept of, oh, I've got all these rolls, or you get on the scale and you're constantly looking at what those numbers tell you. To me, self-love it's about how you feed yourself. It's the food you feed your body. And I don't mean just the physical food, like a good nutritional diet, or taking out things or minimizing things in your diet that may not agree with your body. To me, self-love of the body and that connection, it's about the relationship between your physical body and your mind. And there's been a distrust created between the two. Your body gives you cues of what it needs and it doesn't need, and we tend to either accept or ignore those cues. It's also about how you feed yourself on an emotional and a spiritual and a mental level as well. If I were going to pick a word that described what the body's connection to self-love is, I would say it's courage. It takes courage to love your body and to do the necessary steps or work in order to heal that connection between how you see yourself on a physical level and how you treat your body and how you see yourself mentally and emotionally when it comes to your body. So we're going to talk about a few things. When it comes to the relationship with your body and your self-image, when we talk about the physical aspects of self-love and healing, because that's really what that is about. You're healing that connection between yourself, your mental, emotional, and spiritual self, and your body. There's a trust connection there. When we speak on the physical level, we're talking about exercise, whether it's just walking, whether it's doing, a full workout, whether you want to do CrossFit or whatever tickles your fancy when it comes to that physical working out. You need that. All of that has a great healing mechanism, and it also helps strengthen your body, your joints and the bones and things like that. But there's the aspect, of course, of what you feed yourself, what food you put in your bodies, what food you don't put in your bodies. Why, when you eat certain foods, you feel a certain way, or when you're in a certain emotional state, why do you start craving certain foods? Now, when it comes to the connection of understanding what your body is physically telling you. Think of it as there's two people living in this one vessel. There's your mental self and there's your physical body. Your body will give you signals and little hints that I need more of this. I don't like that. This does not, this thing that you're eating, it doesn't work with me and I don't want to have this anymore. So like some of us, me, who become lactose intolerant, our bodies give us ample signals that this is not beneficial for us. It is not healthy for us to continue to sit here and have milk products knowing what it physically does to us. And when we do it anyway because it's something we want, regardless of what our physical body is telling us, what our health is letting us know, we create that disconnect. Now, that's where you have to learn to listen. And listening is probably the hardest thing we can possibly do because we want what we want when we want it. But it's not always good. And sometimes the reasoning behind why we want things is far deeper than just, I want it. Sometimes we want it because our body is craving certain things, certain minerals, certain sugars that we're not getting. So our body's going to have us suddenly craving salts and sugars and carbs. There's something we're lacking that our body is trying to get us to be aware of. And that in itself is another talk and part of the 14-day and the emerging woman when we discuss how your food cravings affect you and why you use it as an emotional comfort. But going back to that break right there, that's something you need to start listening to. Our bodies will let us know long before we have issues that something is wrong. So when you get those initial, tummy aches and gurgles and stuff like that after you've had milk or something that doesn't fit with you, or if you eat something and your joints start stiffening up because it's causing inflammation, you need to learn to pay attention to those signals. That's part of that self-love and then body acceptance. You're accepting that your body is telling you this no longer works for me, or I need this particular thing. Now, another aspect of our love of food, of course, you should always eat to live, not live to eat. But in the aspect of living to eat, some of the things we tend to crave or want are connected to an emotional response that it gives us. I was doing the Deepak Chakra and Oprah weight loss 21-day meditation, and something he said really stuck with me, and it's something that I practice now when I crave things. He said that when we're in a particular emotional state, we tend to crave certain foods. So you're feeling bad about a breakup, or you had an argument, or you're just depressed or lonely, or whatever emotion that triggers your cravings. So for me, I'll use mine as an example. I have a hierarchy on my level of, I guess you want to call it depression or sad states. And I can tell by what I crave where I am. If I'm craving maple walnut ice cream, which is something you cannot get in the South where I am here in Virginia, except one place that closed, then that's some rock bottom level stuff for me. I'm in a bad place. So there's used to be chocolate chip cookies, which I no longer eat. So apparently I've worked through that little level. But now there's sugar cookies, vanilla chais, maple walnut ice cream. And in that order, well, the chais first, the cookies, and then the ice cream. What he said is when you crave that food, stop for a minute and think about how does that food make you feel? What are you really feeling emotionally with your food? So for me, a warm chai, when it's made right, is warming, it's comforting, it's safe. It's love. There's that feeling that comes with the sense and the warmth and the feeling to it. And that makes me stop and realize that, okay, there's something that I'm lacking within myself, or that that I need on an emotional level. And that's why I'm reaching for this, to drink it. Not always because I want it. And sometimes I just want a chai, But I've come to discern when I take a chai or cookies, and I know my sugar cookies are my, boo-hoo level, that I'm trying to fill that emotional void with that food. And he says, you don't have to not eat it when you realize that's what you're doing. He said, the important part is recognizing that that's why you want that food. And that's part of that body connection. That's the body emotional, mental part of that self-love and connecting to your body, is recognizing that I want this particular thing because of how it makes me feel inside. And that thing that you're feeling is something that could be a disconnect or a lack that you're trying to fill with food. And sometimes we try to fill those things with other people or other objects. This is that connection to your body that you're trying to fix, that's connected to your emotional aspect. Moving on to connecting emotionally, which is what we were talking about with the food. It's also about connecting to your growth, to your childhood, to the people around you, to religion, to just all of those emotional aspects. Because on an emotional level and a mental level, things that you have been influenced by, whether it's TV, because we see all the beautiful pictures of all the little skinny or slim women. And of course, if you're on Instagram, Twitter, and all of those things, you see a lot of these posts, with these young girls with older women, and they're slim and they're not as full-figured and beautiful as I am, or, larger. And you see the comments under a lot of these, and that influences you, whether you realize it or not, on how you see yourself. Because body image is really how you perceive yourself as well as how you think others perceive you. And just some quick statistics on body image. 91% of women are unhappy with their bodies. 40% of women and 20% of men would get cosmetic surgery. And this is really a reflection of self-worth, self-esteem, self-acceptance, and self-love. That's where all of this comes in. Now, there are a lot of places on an emotional sense that we are affected and where these things come to us from. When we look in the emotional reactions to our physical body, you've got, of course, the images on TV, like I said. We have childhood, where people would talk about how chubby you were, how skinny you were, or of course in school you have your friends who talk about you being chubby, fat, skinny. You got long arms. And of course, when you're in middle school, elementary, and high school, we don't exactly control our tongues or think of the ramifications of the words that come from our mouth. And an example of that for me is I spent years feeling that I was ugly because in elementary and middle school, that is what I got, not from my family, but from the kids around me. And that gave me a very negative influence in my looks. I always got harassed or teased about being dark because I was dark-skinned when light-skinned was in. And if you're not of African American descent or ever experienced that, that's something that you may not grasp. But those type of things affect how you see yourself and how others see you. I can tell you from my experience, I used to be smaller, and at one point, I, years ago, started gaining weight because of some medication I was on. And I felt horrible when I looked at myself in the mirror because as far as I was concerned, I was getting fatter. And I didn't want to be fat. I didn't want to have to buy new clothes and get the big 18s and the 16s. I had an issue with that. And after a while, of course, I dropped all of that weight from the medication. But now that I'm older and I've gained weight again from medication, I don't have that same reaction. I started to for a minute, but I stopped and really looked at myself and was like, at this point, I had already connected my physical body image to what the image of Gaia looked like and fertility goddesses. And I was like, I'm thinking I'm liking this. So where I may work out and try to adjust my diet and eat healthier, I have come to accept that the shape that I have right now is just as beautiful as where I was and where I may be in the future. And for me, that makes the choice of taking out certain foods, minimizing certain foods, adding certain foods, going to the gym and working out a lot more pleasant and pleasing to myself, because I'm not doing it under the duress of I have to look a certain way, or I have to fit these jeans, or I have to weigh a certain amount of weight. It allows me to do these things from a different perspective, and not one of lack or need, but more of a place of acceptance of this is who I am. I want to be healthy, even if that means I will stay 16, but I have stamina, I can do things, I can go places, I can hike. I'm okay with that. And I would like everybody else, you have places that you would like to kind of, slim down in because you want to wear those hot, sexy dresses without Spanx. And but I accept that I have that. It does not mean that I am not hot and sexy because I have these roles. I see myself as that. And at some point in the self-acceptance of your physical body, as well as the emotional, spiritual aspects of yourself that are related to it, you stop caring a lot more about how everybody else sees you, because the fact of the matter is how you see yourself will radiate out, and it will determine really how other people see you. Part of that body maintenance, of course, is movement. On a physical level, posture makes a big difference in how you see yourself. When you're slouching, you tend to feel less unworthy. But when you stand up straight, throw your arms back, there's more confidence in yourself and how you walk, how you carry yourself. If you don't believe me, try it for a while. Pay attention to how you feel when you're slouched and walking and how you perceive yourself versus how when you stand up straight, shoulders back, head up, looking forward, not down at the ground, how you carry yourself, how you feel about yourself, as well as how other people react to you in those two manners. Okay, now we're back to the emotions. You talked about childhood, the images you see, society, but there's religion. And depending on your religious beliefs, whether you feel that how they view women and the physical body as oppressive or modest, will really affect how you see yourself physically. Whether we know it or not, how we accept our physical bodies is what it affects how we see ourselves as a sexual or sensual creature, how we see ourselves as a mother, how we see ourselves as a woman. So those things too affect you. The teachings that you get from your religion, whether the teacher who taught you teaches you from an uplifting aspect, or the teacher who taught you teaches you from an aspect where women are vilified, or whether that's how you translate your religious texts and beliefs. Those things do affect you, and I nudge you to look at that and see how that affects you on that level. See, if some of your views of how you see yourself are affected by your belief system and your spirituality. Now, there's other aspects of accepting your physical body which move into the sexual and sensual things, and those things are also affected in your childhood. They're affected by childhood traumas, whether it's molestation, rape, incest. Those type of things affect you on an emotional, mental level, which will respond or be received and reflect it back in how you carry yourself, how you deal with other people, and how you see your body. Some women become over sexualized, some become demure and try to disappear within themselves and in the weight so that they don't draw attention to themselves. So there are a lot of emotional, mental issues that affect your physical body and in turn affect how you see yourself, your self-worth and self-esteem. So none of these things, as you can see, are standalone issues. They're all very intricate and built into each other. And it's not just one aspect that you have to deal with. It's really the whole picture. What I've come to discover, and I say discover because this has been a lot of work for me, because I've had to move through several issues from emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical to get to this point that reconnecting to your physical body is empowering. And that's the whole self-image thing, the self-worth, but empowering because you move through these layers that have been built up to to cause that disconnect between the two. And as you move through them, you begin to reconnect to your physical body and see yourself as whole, as healthy, as sensual, as worthy, as beautiful. It really starts to bring itself to the forefront. And in the physical aspect, we think about, I did a 14-day color challenge with Color Mage. And you wouldn't think that something as simple as some paper and some crayons and a color could possibly bring a connection between your physical self and your emotional self. But wow, it was mind-blowing at how I saw myself. It showed me what I saw within myself when I really didn't see that. So you would go through these 14 days, he'd pick a color, and there was a thing you had to do where you sat in front of a mirror or your phone and you recited this little mirror on the wall thing that he created before you did your picture. I found that I had difficulty getting through the mirror aspect because when I looked in the mirror, I did not see the beauty that we were supposed to be, reaching into. And I would do this and I would cry. And then after I got past the mirror part, which now that I look back, I didn't even realize I had worked myself past it by doing it for every day for 14 days. We would draw these pictures. And when you first start out, sometimes your pictures look crazy and you got eyeballs over here and mouth over there. And then there were days when you would draw a picture and you had to do this from your mind's eye, or looking at the mirror, or looking at your picture on the phone without looking at the paper itself. And the images that came back to you when you drew it really spoke and told a lot about how you saw yourself. And that translates into the body image, because sometimes people view themselves as really skinny or really big, or big heads, big ears. And that was a really good reflection of how you physically saw who you were. And how you physically see yourself is also a connection on how you see yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, etc. Now, when we look at the aspects of our connection as far as self-esteem in the body, on a level of looking at our chakras, that self-love and connection to body-wise that we speak of, it comes from the basic building blocks of our chakras. Those are the chakras that are affected. Those first three are really the building blocks where things are built upon. So it's your root chakra, your sacral chakra, and your solar plexus. Now, when we talk about your root chakra, and as we go through this, you'll kind of get not only touching on, but you'll get an idea of how these three areas really play into that emotional, physical, spiritual base on how you see yourself. Your root chakra is about your will to live. It's about trust, self-preservation, your right to be. It's about security. It's about groundedness. So it's really about all those things that play into feeling safe, feeling worthy, feeling and accepting yourself. And you can see when we come to things that we've been told by other people, how that damages that. Oh, you shouldn't eat that. It'll make you fat. Girl, you done got chubby since the last time I saw you. I got that. And I had to just look like, really? So those type of words, they affect that root chakra, those type of actions from other people, those types of images, because it makes you feel as though you are not where you need to be. And it gives you insecurity, it gives you doubt, and that's where that's affected. And some of the challenges of your root chakra is lack of self-control, basic fear, lack of trust, disorientation, egotism, and the list can go on. And so you can see where the lack of control, eating everything you see, or the fear of not having causes you to clench onto, or the fear of just fear of being seen by other people will cause you to physically eat things to hide within the weight, or to comfort yourself with food or other things for that fact that may not be healthy for you, whether it's alcohol, sodas, cigarettes, drugs of some form. That's where all of that plays in. And feeding yourself healthy foods on a physical aspect is, like we said, the diet, the movement, the exercise, the adjusting of diet, the connection to your body, listening to what your body's telling you and responding in kind. That's all involved in the physical aspect of that healing and that root chakra. Now, on your sacral, which is about your sensuality, your sexuality, it's feminine energy, it's creativity, it's really love of self, that mothering type of love. It's where we learn to mother ourselves, put ourselves first before we put everybody else first. The concept of a half full cup can't fill other people's cups, or an empty one can't either. If your cup's empty, you can't really do a whole lot for other people because you're drained. So that sacral chakra is about that mothering of the self. And that feminine energy, we tend to want to care for people, but we have to learn to care for ourselves in order to do that. Well, doing that is going to mean confronting feelings of guilt, which is a challenge for the sacral chakra, compulsive, uncontrolled drives, mental weakness, being overly sexed as a way of compensating. You can have no sex drive and have way, sex addict level sex drive to compensate for those feelings of guilt that you may be having, of not being mothered, the way you feel you should have been, or love the way you feel you should have been by others. That affects this sacral chakra. And when we speak on emotional food and mental food, let's look and think about the aspects of what you watch, because you're feeding your brain. Everything you watch, you're feeding your emotional brain, you're feeding your spiritual brain, you're feeding your mental brain. So when you're constantly looking at these media images and these stories that give you sad emotions, make you feel inadequate, you're feeding that to your body. Okay, you're feeding that to your mind. You're mentally telling your body it's not worthy. It's not this. It's not functioning. It's not that. So on a mental and emotional level, this is what you are constantly telling your body, and your body will respond in kind. There is a thought of, or a concept that down to your cellular level, how you speak to yourself affects your cellular level. How you feel about yourself affects your cellular level, and your body responds accordingly. So when you see these things, you're feeding that constantly to yourself. And this is where you need to stop and pay attention and maybe not feed that to yourself so much. Instead of feeding that negative imagery, look for things that are positive. Feed the positive reinforcement. How you think as well affects your physical body and how you connect to it. If you're constantly thinking down about yourself, if the things you say to yourself you wouldn't say to anybody else, think about how that affects you physically. How is your body responding to that? You're sad, depressed, you think you're unworthy. Your body's responding to that concept. And it's going to give you, just like the universe, what you put, what you put into it. You feed it healthy thoughts, healthy emotions. When you start working through your old wounds, current wounds, and healing those things, you start taking away a lot of the negativity and you begin to feed healthy thoughts, healthy emotions, healthy boundaries, and all of that really connects and physically you respond to that. There is an exercise that I have people do in my challenge, and it's really simple, and you really need to pay attention when you do this, and I invite you all to try this. It's simple. You sit down and you look at your body because you got the toes, the eyes, the hair, the feet. And how many times have you sat down? It's like, oh, my feet are killing me, these doggone nails, or I can't stand the fact that I've got these big old thighs. Instead of saying that, pay attention to how your body feels when you do this simple exercise. Just simply say, I love you, feet, and thank you for carrying me through my days. I love you, legs. Thank you for lifting me out of the bed this morning and getting me to the kitchen. I love you, stomach, and I thank you for digesting the food that helps nurture my body. I love you, breasts. Thank you for the times that you've nurtured my children. And you just go through each part of your body, inside and out, heart, lungs, because you can't function without any of these things. Yes, I'm very animated. You can't function without any of these things. And pay attention to how your body reacts to that. Really tune in to that. And you'll feel lighter, happier. You'll feel like you have all this energy all of a sudden, or your day will be better. These are the things that I'm talking about when it comes to feeding your body and how that connection to self-love, which is basically a quick example of what you just did, was a form of self-love, how your body reacts to that. How much easier will it be for you to shed weight or to shift your diet when you fed your body love as opposed to, I need to lose this weight because I look fat. I need to eat this because the doctor said I'm going to die if I don't eat it. Those drastic ends create a stress and a tension, and it makes it harder for you to lose weight because now you've got all this negativity attached to why you need to do this particular thing. And it's not even a diet. I always recommend a lifestyle change because you can go on a diet and get off it off and on, but that's not going to make a consistent or healthy life. You're going to yo-yo, you're going to get caught on fad diets, you're going to, end up damaging or being unhealthy in one aspect or another. We tend to want to cut out this, keep that. But our body needs everything we eat, just not in the excessive amounts we eat it in. Moderation is the key, and listening to what your body tells you it needs more of or less of or none at all. No, I skipped solar plexus, so let me go back and talk about the solar plexus. Solar plexus is willpower, self-control, personality, it's emotions, self-confidence, self-development, and which of course is part of self-love. It's developing yourself. It's having the control and the want to heal those things that you see within yourself that are affecting you physically, your body, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And you keep hearing me say those four things over and over and over, but honest to God, those four things affect you on a physical level. And it affects how well you accept your physical self. It's not just that I have big boobs or that I weigh whatever and I need to love me for my size. There's more to it than that. There's so much from our childhoods, from the people around us, from the things we see that affect how we see ourselves that we really have to delve into to connect back to our bodies, to find that self-love, and to be able to get up and look at yourself every morning and be like, damn, I am beautiful. I love how I look. Whenever I walk past the mirror now and it caught me off guard, I think, my God, I'm beautiful. And it was just like, when did I start doing that? Because I remember there are days, it's one of these when you go past that mirror, it's like, ugh, I look terrible. I have yet to walk past the mirror and not realize how beautiful I am. I always laugh and tease my daughter because she's a selfie queen. And she's always saying, but I like how I look. I think I'm pretty. And so she takes her pictures, and I swear she's got millions of pictures of herself on her page. And I had to laugh the other day when I finally realized that I have gotten to the stage where she is. She looks at her physical self and she's like, I'm pretty. I like how I look. I like me. And I'm at 47. I'm just now getting to a place where my daughter at 17 is, and not in a narcissistic way, but in a way that she accepts herself fully. She understands, her physical body. She's got this beautiful, natural model hourglass body. She's got this long, gorgeous hair. Now, I'll tell you that even in her acceptance of herself, I've watched her work into that, and I've watched her bloom, and I always wonder, where did she get all of this from? Where is she, and she always laughs at me. She goes, Mommy, I got it from you. You always talk about it. You always, because she saw me working on me and learning this and trying to instill those things in her so she wouldn't be 47 years old trying to figure out how to love herself, take care of her, and connect to her body and understand that this is what it wants, this is what it needs, that all of these aspects affect your physical body and how you see yourself and how you love yourself. I love this. I love that this is part of my program. I love that I can share this. I am led, I am driven to really put this out there and help people see, connect, begin to look, to peel away the layers that affect how they connect to their physical body and how they love their body. I don't want you to just love your body when you feel you are athletically in shape. I want you to love your body when you feel that you are out of shape. I want you to love your body when you feel that you are in whatever figure that you're in, not because it's just a physical thing, but because on an emotional level, you see yourself emotionally as beautiful. On a mental level, you see yourself as beautiful from the inside out. And that affects so deeply that connection between your mind, your heart, your spirit, and your physical body. Because we are a people who tends to be in our minds, and we only pay attention to our body as a necessity to live. That's a very huge divide. And when you bring that, you clear that divide, when you bring it together, when you make it a singular connection, you thrive in ways you would not think possible. And it's really all about how your physical body connects to the way you love yourself and how that body it's a memory store. There's a concept that your body is a second memory, and it remembers everything that's happened to you emotionally and mentally. And, it stores that memory. You have to heal that memory for your body to begin healing and for you to begin to see yourself in that manner. So there's just, it's mind-boggling at times, and it's inspiring. I want to take a few minutes to tell you about my two programs, my 14-day self-love and my emerging woman. I've been doing a 14-day self-love challenge for a while, and I've had great results with people, and I have watched them blossom and look at aspects of themselves that they never, and their family, that they never thought to look at. So the 14-day self-love challenge is, I call it the beginning steps for some people. For other people who've done it before, they do it again and they still find other things that they may have not gotten the first time. It's a great program. I'll be running it monthly up until September. Will be the last time I run it until next year. You have 14 days. And of course, I always require you do a video, and video tends to be hard for people, but we're not looking for quality. What we're doing is making a video record of you to see where you were to where you are when you come in and when you leave, in these different aspects, and also like a video log for you to look back and be like, okay, I remember I needed to work on that. So you have 14 days. And within those 14 days, we touch on celebrating you, connecting to your body, connecting emotionally, connecting spiritually, connecting in a sense of the whole, looking at each of these aspects. Do you listen to your body? How do you see yourself? What is the family legacy you may be carrying that you need to start working on to heal? Just so many different aspects that we really deal with. And like I said, it's just really the beginning for you to begin to look and see and figure out and make your own roadmap, really is what it is. The 14-day self-love challenge is a roadmap to your own personal healing. So it gives you ideas of where you need to go or where you want to work on. And you can make this map of the things that you want to, sit down and look at. Well, I need to work on this thing here because I didn't know I had a problem with that, or I didn't know something affected me in that manner. And that's what the 14-day self-love challenge, it's the beginning. Now, the Emerging Woman is an 8-week program that will begin September 18th. And it's 8 weeks, and each week you get a whole bunch of information, exercises. You get a weekly call where we discuss, what we've learned this week, how it's affected us. And I'm looking to have at least 3 special speakers come on and talk about what they've experienced and how, what they do can help you in your 8 weeks and in your transformation to emerging into this butterfly. And I say emerging because of butterflies. There's a cocoon, there's a larva stage, then there's when you emerge. And that's really what the Emerging Woman is about. It's emerging from the larva, the cocoon, and then becoming this beautiful butterfly. So you can, I guess, consider the 14-day self-love challenge that larva stage of, growth. And the Emerging Woman, we're going to move you through into being that cocoon and emerging out into this beautiful butterfly, or beginning to emerge. You will have to decide if you're ready to actually break the cocoon or if you still need more work. But that is what the Emerging Women program is, and it'll be 8 weeks, and each week we'll touch on a different subject or a different area. And if you want more information about that, I am going to post a link to both events so that you can sign up for it and get more information. There'll be more information coming about the Emerging Woman program sometime this week. And if you do the 14-day self-love challenge, you get 20% off of the Emerging Woman program. All right. I really hope this was helpful for you and that you followed it. If you have any questions, please post them below this video or send me an email at earthandspiritwalk@gmail.com. You can also go to my website and contact me there, and that's www.earthandspiritwalk.com. And I hope to see you guys soon. Let me know what you thought of my video. If you liked it and it made sense to you and something that you touched, it touched you, and there's somebody you think would really like to watch this, please go ahead and share that video. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, blessed, wholesome, and connected day. Well, maybe not so wholesome, but have a wonderful day.